Hi, I'm Seamless, and this is the 6775K tutorial. This one is a Insideinfo and Mefjus sound from a remix from Black Sun Empire and Jade's Dead House. And the sound, their sound is this. And then what I got is this. Sort of. The thing that popped up there from XSplit when I started up there is the thing it does whenever a new recording starts, unless I tell it not to do that. And I usually tell it not to do that, but then when I update it, it decides to take away all of those settings. I guess it's because it puts it in new, or it replaces the shortcut or something, and then it gets rid of all of the little extra stuff I put up on the end of it. But now I gotta do that again. I forgot about that. As you can see here, I've got sushi. That's I was in the middle of eating sushi and watching Daredevil, and I was struck with the urge to do a 75K because I have less than 1,000 subscribers to go until 100K. I really want to be done with this. So this sound, when I was listening to the original sound, which I'm playing from a YouTube video because I didn't feel like recording it. This get to identify there's actually a bunch of different things happening. There's the thing that I actually tried to do, which is kind of that reverbed band-passed chord, which is literally all that explanation about what's happening here. And then there's some kind of on top of that choppy thing. So there's a higher frequency one, then there's a mid-range one, and of course there's the stabby bass. It's all a lot of layers going on here. But what I decided to focus on, even though the person who suggested this did not specify that, I'm focusing on the band-passed chord thing because I think it's kind of cool. I didn't quite nail the tone, but this is honestly, a lot of this is a little bit unnecessary. But this all began as a super saw stab. Just straight up that. It's also monoed, but not really for any particular reason. It's just a saw wave with a unison. I really didn't do anything else with it. You could have done this with any plugin at all. And then I have a bandpass. Now this when you use the parametric EQ2 to make a bandpass, usually what happens is you just type bandpass and then oops, that's a high pass. Type bandpass and then this happens. You get this guy. Now when you make it really thin, you notice how it's kind of like more of a sharper point and there's kind of edges to it. There's a specific thing about how this particular plugin works for it. Like in the regular normal mode for any of the filters, they bleed quite a bit. If you want them to not bleed, you have to set an order for anything other than 2. Even the gentle versions of it will cut it, but the steep versions of it cut it harder. When you do that, it'll absolutely cut anything that's beyond these edges. You might be thinking, well, of course it was doing that before, but actually what happens is that while this is, you can see visually that there's a cut there, there's actually still information happening there. This is why I like using that filter for like resampling and stuff, because sometimes it's not always the best idea to cut everything all at once. And that's why this particular EQ has that mode chosen to it, not just because I want it to be sharper. Do I also have? I do. So I have a band stop, just a notch filter. This is just a regular one. I didn't change its order at all, and it's going kind of contrary to it. So here's the band pass, and here's that. Now, like just deciding to do that, I mostly just whipped it around manually myself, and then when I decided on the band pass, I whipped around the band stop manually, and then I just kind of mimicked what I did. There wasn't really any kind of like science beyond just choosing it. Same thing with these notes. I just picked the nearest chord that sounded like it was right, and then I put some more notes that were still in the chord, this being an F sharp minor chord. I just put more notes in the F sharp minor, and until it sounded kind of right. It still wasn't like perfectly the original. And then after you do that, you distort the shit out of it. When that happens, and so then we come in here and we low pass it, and I'm also high passing it. And then while I was high passing it, I noticed. By the way, this is order 8, very steep. Steep 8 rather, because there is a gentle as well. I noticed that like it sounded kind of cool when I was moving it around, and like I'm not entirely percent, yes, sure that's entirely necessary, but I decided to do it anyway. And then reverb. Now the reverb I actually is just a default impulse. I didn't even change that, and then I EQ'd out some of the higher frequencies because this is a very mid-rangey sound. Remember, the original had room for that other guy. I also kind of think that because you hear that kind of noisier Division Invisible record style kind of like phase cancellation. And that actually just might be a separate sound too, or it could be a delayed version of this sound that's being in there. I decided to kind of include that in the sound by having the reverb come from this, and then do the phase cancellation with gross beat. the way that this works is that this is the high pass, by the way. You go to the gross beat, you have the time, so we have half the original and half the new one, and then we automate this guy. This guy lets it change the pitch essentially on the fly, and we're automating it. And then the automation clip I have set to be the minimum to be 99%. So we have 99, there's literally 1% of range and only this amount of change, and that's what gets us that really thin phase cancellation for that particular kind of sound. And of course, you can choose to go harder if you want. Then that happens, or you're really slim. Lots of options there. And then a limiter because it got kind of loud. I sort of crushed it up. And also brought it down because it didn't need to be that necessarily that loud. And then re-EQ to kind of feel a little more like it's supposed to. When you loop it, the automation doesn't snap back immediately. There's a bit of a smoothing involved. So that's why it does that, like, as opposed to just... So bear that in mind while you're messing around with this. Anyway, that's pretty much this. Yeah, almost done with these. This is the first of the 9 I have left. So after this one, I have 8 more to do, and I'm just gonna try and burn through them because I really want to get these done before 100K happens. And then when 100K happens, be ready for new announcements that are gonna go down. It'll be a good time. Anyway, if you have any questions about this, please let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And as usual, have a nice day.